MMA Now, powered by Film On TV Networks.
I'm David Kano with Film On TV Networks MMA Now. Yesterday, the news broke that Chris Weidman was out of UFC 199 versus Luke Rockhold. We now know who his opponent. It is the Count Michael Bisping. In a few minutes, we're going to have Javier Mendez on the line, head coach out of AKA, head coach of Luke Rockhold, Daniel Cormier, Cain Velasquez, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he's going to come on to discuss the replacement of the opponent. When the news broke yesterday, we weren't sure if it was going to be Jacare or was it going to be the Count. Uriah Hall also threw himself into the mix. Ultimately, Dana White announced that it would indeed be Michael Bisping. That's Javier Mendez on the line right now. Right now, we're being joined with Javier Mendez, head coach out of AKA. Javier, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good. So the big news broke yesterday. Luke Rockhold has a new opponent. We didn't know if it was going to be Jacare, Michael Bisping, or someone else. When did you know that you guys were going to take on the Count?
Well, first, originally, we were told that they were working on Jacare. Then, as of this morning, I was basically, I woke up to, that the opponent's going to be Bisping. We were told that primarily it was going to be first Jacare, but then, if you read the Twitter little thing that Michael put out there, he's down. So you kind of figured, based on his performance with the Spider, that he would be the next logical choice. And what I was hearing is that Jacare has to have surgery or a meniscus tear or something like that. So it makes logical sense that it would be Bisping, right?
Correct. And this is the matchup which I think, when I saw Rockhold and Weidman, they seem to not be enemies. They seem more to be the frenemies. Where Michael Bisping, I think there's obviously, like Dana White said, there's no love lost. I think these guys really don't like each other. Is that a true assessment?
100%. That's a true assessment. It's one of those ones where I think Luke has no problem beating them up 100 out of 100 times.
Right. And from a fan perspective, though, because I think the fans, they love to see fights where the fighters actually don't like each other going into the fight. There's the fighting aspect of it, and this is one of those fights. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, where it might draw more interest from a fan perspective.
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, it's a much more fan-friendly fight because of the dislike and the fact that they're gonna stand and bang. There's an obvious thing for Michael, and the obvious choice is what his stand-up. He has to stand with Luke. He doesn't want to go with Luke to the ground. He's not great at taking someone to the ground, so that's not what he's going to want to do. So he's going to want to stand with Luke, and Luke can do whatever he wants, but Luke's going to want to stand with him also. So this is going to be one of those fan-friendly fights. They're going to see two guys going at each other that don't like each other, and it's for the big the big prize.
Right, and there's some fighters that say, I'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. Luke said that on social media yesterday. Was there any hesitation though from him? Like obviously, John Jones has not wanted to fight on short notice. We're only less than 3 weeks out. Was there any hesitation on Luke's side?
Not from my knowledge. Luke will fight anybody, but from the perspective of coaches like myself, Crazy Bob Cook, we have to think what's best for the fighter, if we have a choice to decide, in the matter. But from a fighter's point of view, I haven't really met any fighter that won't fight anybody. It's the people around him that sometimes sway him one way or another, whether they will take a fight or not. It's the advice that he gets from the people he feels most comfortable with.
And just to close out on the Rockhold versus Bisping, you said Rockhold can put the fight anywhere he wants. Do you have obviously you have a game plan, but do you have a prediction of how it happens and where does the fight end?
No, I always play on the safe of caution, and the way I look at it is it's going to be a tough fight because if we don't look at him, even though it's 3 weeks notice, short on him, but how many times have people come in on short notice and pulled an upset? So we can't underestimate, Bisping and his desire to be a champion. This might be his only one shot, and he's going to come giving it his best. So we have to respect the fact that he's going to do that, and you can't underestimate him because he's in the running for a reason.
Right. Well, let's segue into UFC 200. You have two fighters on there. Daniel Cormier taking on Jon Jones, Cain Velasquez, Travis Browne. Let's talk DC, Jon Jones real quickly. DC is the UFC light heavyweight champion. Jon Jones is the interim. I thought it was interesting that DC's never pulled out of a fight. They made it an interim match between Jon Jones and OSP. And Jon did something unique after the fight. He said, "I don't want the belt," but then later on, he grabs the belt in the press conference. Jon didn't really look good in that fight, and DC called it out. Does that put some hesitation on your end that, hey, we could have beat that Jon Jones, but now he has more time to prep, or given the time circumstance, is it good that DC is getting some time off to recover from his injury?
Well, I mean, had the injury not happened, it would have been great to have gotten that Jon Jones. But, and at the end of the day, I think DC would want the best Jon Jones. He doesn't want to beat the Jon Jones that fought that night. He wants to beat the Jon Jones that's going to fight on UFC 200. So DC's obviously looking to be the best he can be, and he wasn't, unfortunately. A freak accident happened to him, and he wasn't able to make that fight. But, all fighters really want is to beat the fighter at their best. They don't want any excuses. So I think at the end of the day, DC would prefer the best Jon Jones that's available than the Jon Jones that showed up that night. Because, I mean, even Jon probably to himself could admit it wasn't his best performance. But, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on him, too, a change of opponent, and the first time having been out there, there's a lot. There's a lot going on in a fighter's mind. We don't know what's going on. The situation with his mom, you don't know how much that would affect the fighter. We don't know that, but I know it can affect the fighter quite a bit, having to worry about your mom and the issues that she had to deal with. So who knows? Who knows exactly what's going through his mind? But that was a great Jon Jones, but that wasn't the best Jon Jones.
Will DC be 100% by July 9th?
That's the plan. He's already doing some grappling, which he wasn't able to do before at all. Period. So that's a good sign that he's able to grapple a little bit. So I'm anticipating we're going to have a 100% healthy DC. So we'll see what happens, but I'm anticipating 100% he'll be healthy.
Now, outside of McGregor-Diaz trash talk, I think Jones and DC are right there. It's fun from a fan perspective, fun from a journalistic standpoint as well. From a coaching aspect, how does that play into your preparation as a coach when you know that your fighter's going to go out there and there's going to be beef between him and Jones?
Well, because of the fact that we can't have those two guys in the same room together, it's definitely it does cause some concern because, there's some things that we will not do to let those two guys stay in the same room together because no matter what anybody says, if those two guys stay in the same room with no one attending them or prevent another one from coming at each other, they're going to go at each other. That's just the way it is right now between those two guys. And I don't even know if after this fight that they're going to change. I really don't. I still think they're going to hate the hell out of each other. Even after the fight, they're going to make whatever they need to do, they're going to do, and they're going to want to fight again. That's how much they hate each other. I've rarely encountered that, with any of my fighters, but I have with these guys, and it's just unbelievable for me how normally when you don't like somebody after the fight, it's over. But you saw what happened after the first fight; it wasn't over. And this one's going to potentially be worse.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's great too from me following boxing since I was a kid. When you don't ever put two boxers, in the same room together for an interview or anything. But I think nowadays it's a little bit different where, for instance, you see Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald, they were together on a press tour. Him and Hendricks were together. But with these guys, you can't do that.
No, that would be stupid. That would be stupid. Look, listen, we were all in doing the promos for the UFC, the 200. All the coaches went, and there was some situations there where where we as coaches, Bob Cook and myself, we insisted, no, we're not having it together. Not going to do it. You know, because we're like telling those guys, can you stop them? Because we sure as hell aren't going to be able to stop them. You know, because we knew it would happen. So I was said we neglected to have them face off. Because no way.
How close? One of the most viral videos on the MMA side is the ESPN when the hot mic, you know, at before their last fight between John Jones and Daniel Cormier, where you know Jones says he's going to kill DC. How close do you think they were for DC to seek Jones out after that interview? Because I know they're not in the same room, but they're in the same vicinity.
Well, the thing about DC, he's very unassuming, you know. But you know, you make threats like that. I mean, he's the type of guy that oblige you. He's the type of guy to go, oh yeah, well, do it. I'm here, and I'll search you out. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in his head, but for the DC that I see in my gym, he's not going to take too kindly to anybody saying anything bad about him like that. He'll be right in front of your face.
Right. Also on the card, Cain Velasquez versus Travis Browne. Before we get into Cain and how he's doing, were you surprised that Verdun was put out by Stipe Miocic?
No, I wasn't surprised. I didn't think it would happen like that. I see where Doom is being better than that, but unfortunately, you know, who knows what was going on in his head, you know, and you know, he made a big tactical error that no good striker would make. I'll tell you that. I mean, any good trained striker is not going to make the mistake he made. That was not only did one mistake, he did it twice. I mean, he comes at him rushing, and he got clipped with a pretty good shot, and he's still not 100%, and he follows it up again, trying to do the same thing, and he got nailed by a shorter shot, and we'll put him face down. But I don't, you know, who knows what was going on in his head? That definitely not a polished striker type move. I'll tell you that. That's for sure. Why he did it, I don't know. But I can tell you that 100%, no polished striker would do that.
And it seemed like a different Verdum when I was covering it before the fight. He came out, he was doing his funny face, he was high-fiving fans, and when he came out against Cain and Mark Hunt, that wasn't the same Verdum. He actually, his body kind of looked a little bit different as well.
Yeah, he looked softer. He did. Who knows? Who knows? We could all speculate, but yeah, definitely there was a difference.
So Cain's up versus Travis Browne. There's been unfortunate injuries with Cain, and do you think with this fight between him and between Travis Browne that the winner should take on Stipe, or do you think Overeem will get that shot first?
Well, I think personally, I think we should wait and see what happens with that fight between Cain and Browne. And if Cain performs like the Cain I know is going to perform, they're going to want Cain fighting Miocic. That's what I think. And but we'll see what happens. I mean, we don't know what the UFC has in mind. And of course, I'm going to be thinking for my guy, right? But I think that I would like for it to happen to see what happens after the fight, because if Cain performs like I know he's going to, the fans are going to want to see that one,
right?
And but we'll see, right?
Exactly, we're going to see. I just form a perspective. I know on Twitter, social media, people are up in the air over Overeem. I mean, his last one was against Arlovsky. They had just lost to Stipe, and obviously he had the win over JDS. But how is Cain looking? Is he looking healthy in camp? I mean, it's a huge card.
Yesterday we did our workout, and he looked fantastic. We had a great workout yesterday, so he's looking sharp, real sharp.
Right.
It's just unfortunate what happened. Just like the back spurs. It's like he's had that for who knows how long. It could have been started when he started wrestling in high school. Who knows? Bone spurs are not something that just spring up on you. That's been through time. So all the time in wrestling, everything he's done, all the demanded sport of MMA, what it has you do, it puts a lot of stress on him. So, from the very beginning when he started training with me, he'd have people like step on his back, from like back in 2000, I think 6 or 7 when he came to me. he'd have like someone, walk on his back. So it was brewing since back then,
Right.
But it's just, it takes a while.
Right. Well, one of your guys that came back from an injury, Khabib Nurmagomedov, in April, Ferguson had to drop out of the fight. Donald Cerrone said that he accepted the fight, and then, do you know what happened behind the scenes for that fight?
I would imagine what happened is I don't think it was in the main people's plans to have that fight happen at that time. I think 100%. I don't see Cerrone running from anybody. Period. And if he says he's booked to sign, I believe him 100%. I don't see him backing away from nothing. The only strange thing about that whole scenario is that Khabib showed him his contract and Cerrone didn't show him his that was signed. So that's the only thing. But other than that, I believe 100% that Cerrone was intending to fight Khabib. 100%, I believe it. I just think that it just probably wasn't in the plans for what they were looking for.
Right.
And that's my belief. Then I don't have any proof on that. That's just my belief.
What's next for Khabib right now? I feel like there's some fighters. It's the lightweight and welterweight divisions are probably the most stacked divisions in the UFC right now. What's next for Khabib?
Well, for me, hopefully everything goes well between RDA and Alvarez, and then RDA calls out Khabib. Khabib is becoming really good at marketing fights, and people are getting to love him. So it's what the fans want to see, right? So if they can cause enough ruckus between both of them, maybe that's the fight the UFC will grant. By all rights, Khabib has that the credentials, 23-0, to ask for that fight. He was the last guy to actually beat RDA, and he beat him handedly. So, and this is a new RDA, so we'll see. And then Khabib is back to form, so I would love to see that fight. I think the fans would too, but we'll see what happens. RDA's got to get past Alvarez, and then we'll see. Because if you notice, RDA has been challenging Khabib on almost every chance he gets, so it's been bugging him. He wants that win back. He wants that back because he feels that the guy that Khabib fought is not the RDA that it is now. So and me personally, of course, I want that fight because I believe Khabib's the best there ever has been at the lightweight division, and I think he's going to prove it, and just one step at a time, but I think he's going to prove me right that he's the best of all time in the lightweight division.
Okay, Khabib, we don't know what's next, so that's Javier Mendez. We have Javier Mendez on the line, MMA Now TV. Last two things before we get you out of here. The injury bug, this has been addressed by you within the past 6 months. Can you address it again in regards to AKA having injuries because you guys go hard, but then you actually said that you guys tailored down sparring. What is your thoughts on that? Has the training changed since in the last 6 months?
Well, from way back when I used to be in my Hillsdale gym, we would always look to take care of ourselves better. Before, guys would spar without headgear, And one time Mike Kyle was sparring with Kane, and Mike wanted to take the headgear off, and we let him. And next thing you know, Mike Kyle and Kane clash heads. And next thing you know, here Kane's got this huge old gash on his head. So from that point on, we was like, we said no more, never again. We're gonna let that happen. Guys spar, they always mandatory have to wear headgear. So even way back then, we were always looking at ways to improve. And I've gotten even to the point where, I talked to the guys. I said, hey, look, if something's going on with you guys, you had a fight with your mom, your girlfriend, you didn't get enough sleep, something's nagging you, I need to know, and if you don't feel like sparring, don't tell me you're going to spar if you don't feel like sparring. I need to know, So we've been really working really hard on all that, So it's one of those things where, it's an unfortunate part of our sport, and, I'm feeling horrible about it because, and realistically, the fans get gypped. I don't get paid. The promotion gets gypped. Everybody loses when people get injured, Look at poor Chris Weidman. He got injured, fights off. How many times have we seen that? And look at King's MMA. Those poor guys. First Fabricio got hurt, but the Kane did, and then RDA got hurt, But the thing of it is, we get labeled more than anybody else. And I get it because, we have high-profile guys that just happen to, that happened to, and so I get it. You know, Tony Ferguson might not be. He got injured. You know, this is a sport where injuries happen, and we do have to be careful. And I'm trying. I'm definitely trying. And, you know, I'm always willing to have anybody come in and help me if they think there's something they can do that we're not doing. I'm willing to take advice. You know, I'm not. I don't know it all. You know, but we're doing the best we can. Fighters are now more electing to go spar one day a week hard, the rest light. You know, and then work technique. So the majority of the guys are doing that now. Which, you know, whether it's helping or not, I don't know. We've been doing it for a while.
Right. All right, last question before we get you out of here. Javier Mendez on the line, a.k.a. head coach. We talked about this probably about a year ago off air in regards to teammates fighting each other. That happened at Overeem and Arlovsky. There's ATT is going to Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley. They don't train together, but they're teammates. They're going to fight each other. That's something that there's a few camps that will not do it. AKA is one of them. And what are your thoughts with teammates fighting?
Well, this is the thing. The Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley situation, I'm all for that one. Because one is the champ, the other one is being offered the title. The Arlovsky and the Overeem, because of the way we are, such a close-knit team, I'm all against that. So, no, we're not for that one whatsoever. And we never will be. You know, unless we train separate, we're not together. I mean, those two guys didn't appear like they worked out together, but we work out as a team. So how are we going to avoid that? We don't have two separate training sessions. It's only one. So everybody goes in that one. So that would be kind of hard for us to do that. So we as a team voted that we would never do that unless one's the champion. Then it's up to the fighters to decide, and then we'll figure it out from there. You know, otherwise, I think personally, as close as we are as a team, I think it would separate us if I allowed something like that to happen. I won't allow it.
Right. I think it's kind of weird when Lito and Machida fought Mark Munoz, you know, friends, they training partners as well, and then they go have a steak afterward or whatever, seafood after Machida knocks Munoz out. To me, that'd be hard. I mean, I'm obviously from a journalist standpoint, you know, going to go have lunch with someone that just knocked me out or submitted me and try to hurt me. And I think from when Cormier said, I'm not going to fight Kane, Kane is my brother, it seems more of like a brotherhood up there at AKA.
Yeah, and that's the thing I'm trying to say is that these kids are close, you know, real close to each other. That, you know, Luke Rockhold can easily go up to 205, but as long as DC is the champ there, Luke will never do that. You know, that's how close these guys are. So, you know, that's exactly what it is. We're close knit. So that being the case, they're not going to want to fight each other. Again, the exception was Overeem and Arlovsky. You heard them say it themselves. Oh, we've only interacted like once or twice, and that was years ago, a few years back when they first started, I guess. You know, so what kind of teammates were they really? You know, if you really think about it, right? What kind of teammates were they? Right. Not really. So I guess you can understand where they're coming from. But if you told me, hey, Luke Rockhold's going to fight, you know, DC. No. Hey, they fought in the gym like a brother against brother, but they're not going to fight against each other, you know, title versus title type thing. They won't do that.
Right. Well, we'll see you. You'll be down here in less than 3 weeks, fight week for UFC 199. Let's catch up when you get in town.
All right, will do. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Javier Mendez, a.k.a. Thanks so much for the call. And that's Javier Mendez, head coach of a.k.a. Well, that was his thoughts on the Chris Weidman being out versus Luke Rockhold. He touched on DC versus John Jones. He talked about these guys, their dislike for each other. He touched on Cain Velasquez and Travis Browne, which I said this even before. I think we should wait for Velasquez and Browne to see what happens. Overeem's win over Arlovsky, as high of level as Arlovsky is, he was coming off a loss. It's kind of hard to give someone a title shot, or not to give them, but to feel like they earned it when they beat someone that's coming off a loss. He also touched on Khabib Nurmagomedov, also waiting on that fight between RDA and Eddie Alvarez, trying to put that together. And the thing about Javier is he touched on the injury bug. I mean, that's a big thing out of AKA, them being known as the injuries because they go so hard. He touched a little bit on that as well. and the brotherhood, that those guys will not fight each other. And it's something that I've always been a proponent of fighters that train together should not be paid to fight each other because it's different. Make sure you stay here. We're gonna talk a little daily dose, get you updated on some more things, and follow us on Twitter at MMA Now TV, and everything can be found on filmon.com, Film On TV Network. Follow us everywhere.
MMA Now, powered by Film On TV Network.